I got something important really wrong. I didn't understand that back then, the full impact that stops were having on the Black and Latino communities. I was totally focused on saving lives. I now see that we could and should have acted sooner and acted faster to cut the stops. I wish we had. I'm sorry that we didn't. Back then, I was wrong, and I'm sorry.
That's right. Former Mayor Michael Bloomberg now saying he's sorry. As you can hear right there, the music back there. Sorry for stop-and-frisk policy. In the New York Post is the headline. In the Daily News, Bloomberg apologizes for stop-and-frisk practice.
It was a matter of time. We knew that was going to happen.
Yep. Here's the cover of the New York Daily News. Now he's sorry, it says.
And here's the Post.
And the Post says flop on frisk. You know, this is not just a side issue for former Mayor Bloomberg. This was one of his signature issues.
Let's bring in Dan Bongino, Fox News contributor, former Secret Service agent, former NYPD officer. You're the perfect guest to respond to this, Dan. What do you think?
Yeah, having been a New York City police officer, this is why, you know, I wake up every day and thank the Lord I'm not a liberal. They probably thank the Lord I'm not a liberal, too. But the liberals, that is. But, you know, they're typically wrong on everything. But even when they're right about something, they apologize for it. I mean, Bloomberg, the policy, the stop-and-frisk policy, by the way, again, having been a member of the NYPD and actually having lived it, unlike Bloomberg, he was the mayor, but he wasn't a police officer, it worked. There was nothing illegal about it. Frankly, there was nothing even unusual about it. The idea of what they call a Terry frisk, based on the Terry versus Ohio case, a stop and a frisk based on reasonable suspicion, a sound constitutional stop and frisk, guys, Ainsley, is nothing new. The fact that New York City was a little bit more aggressive in looking for crime and keeping their eyes open for people who may have been involved in criminal behavior, it was a brilliant strategy to take guns and crime off the street. Right. Here's the news flash. Before it happened, this policy worked. Bloomberg looks like a purely political animal by doing this. It looks weak. It looks pathetic. And I think it'll backfire on him. And by the way, remember one more thing. He's trying to claim the moderate lane, too. So this isn't the way to do it.
Well, he thinks clearly he thinks that the road to the nomination would have to involve some apology, which he just did. But what's delicious irony, Mr. Bongino, is the fact that former Mayor Bloomberg has actually mocked Joe Biden and Beto O'Rourke as well for apologizing to voters to get on their good side. Watch this flashback.
It's just not going to happen on a national level for somebody like me starting where I am, unless I was willing to change all my views and go on what CNN called an apology tour. Joe Biden went out and apologized for being male, over 50, white, Beto, or whatever his name is. He's apologized for being born.
So apparently he's in his apology tour, Dan Bongino.
Dan, that was 8 months ago. He mocked it. Now he is it.
Oh, I know, Ken. I mean, one of these guys, please grow a spine. Sheesh, it's not that difficult. Just stand by the data's on his side. The city was candidly a very dangerous place before the Giuliani era, and then Bloomberg took some of those policies and ran with it. Just go out, forcefully defend it. And here's one of the ironies of this as well. Not just that he's a phony and a fraud for apologizing after ripping people for apologizing, but this policy worked, and it saved minority lives as well. One of the communities he's probably pandering to right now to try and get votes in the primary, it saved minority lives. I worked in the 7-5 precinct in East New York, Brooklyn, a largely black and Hispanic precinct. It had a high crime rate. It had nothing to do with people being minorities. It had nothing to do with the crime. It just was. It was a high minority precinct. The fact that a lot of people got stopped and frisked in a precinct that was 90% black and Hispanic had nothing to do with their skin color. It was just the demographic breakdown of the precinct. And he should defend that and be honest about it. And he's not. He's just being a fraud like everyone else.
There's an op-ed about it in the New York Post, and the headline says, Bloomberg's reversal doesn't change the truth about stop and frisk. It goes on to say, notice, he's apologizing for saving lives simply because opponents of effective policing managed to sell a narrative about one tactic's supposed impact. In other words, he's confessing his failure as a politician to counter a political attack. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree. What they're referencing here is a court case where a judge that was incredibly biased, by the way, said, well, there was a disparate impact on the minority community who appeared to have been stopped more often. Well, that case was such a joke, and the judge was so thoroughly rebuked by everyone that the NYPD wasn't even allowed to bring demographic data. That's what happened there. So what happened is when de Blasio, the communist mayor, got into office, he just settled the case, because if it would have went back into court, the judge would have been, mocked thoroughly legally. So that's what the writer of that op-ed is referring to there by the impact. The judge didn't even allow the racial data on the crime statistics to come into the court case, which is kind of important, right? If you're analyzing crime data, it was a joke.
Wow.
Look at that.
The wild card in all this is that, of course, Bloomberg could spend $1 billion if he wanted to, trying to remake his image in the places where he's trying to get votes. So that's different than anyone else.
Yeah, Tom Steyer tried that, too.
That's true.
Look how that's working out right now. He's losing to a South Bend mayor with a failed record in Iowa. So good luck with that strategy.
All right. Dan Bongino, wide-ranging today. Thank you very much for joining us live today.